Okay, back to Ivan. We are ready to start the next group of chapters, which is, since we're all spread out, if you want to pull your masks down to take a break to kind of get cooled off from PE, that'll probably help. But we're ready to start chapters 73 through 86 in the book, which also means that there's different questions to go with those chapters as well. So before we even get started in the book, look at the quick write. It says, write about someone in your life that you love. How do you show love and care for this person? Okay, so I'm going to have you go ahead and do that quick write right now. And you think 4 minutes is enough time? Shall we see where everybody's at in 4 minutes? Okay. Okay. Did everybody get finished? Are you about done? Because we're going to move on if you're the only one. Sorry, but let's continue on then. Let me. Okay. So now we have 4 vocabulary words that go along with this group of chapters. Frantic. Have you ever heard that word?
Yes.
Maybe so, some of you. Scornful. Musty. Or incompetent. Okay, let's look in our vocabulary handout. Find the chapters 73 through 86. All right, so when we have the vocabulary words and it gives us the definition of them, it just is giving us a synonym, okay? But on this assignment, you are having to find the antonym, so the word that is the opposite of this. All right, so for the word frantic, frantic means to be panicked or to panic. Does that make sense? Do you understand what panic means? Like you're kind of freaking out, right? All right. Do you see a word over here that's the opposite of like panic or freaking out? Write the word frantic beside the antonym. The opposite of panicked, the opposite of freaking out. Is it skilled? Is it fragrant, humble, or calm? Everybody have the word frantic typed by the antonym that it goes with?
Yep.
All right, then our next word in our handout is scornful. That means mocking or contemptuous. Now, do either of those words help you out? Do you know what it means to mock?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
To make fun of.
Yeah, to make fun of. Does skilled, fragrant, or humble help you out at all to figure out the antonym? Or should we go on to the next one and see if we can come back to that one? Let's go on to musty. Musty means moldy, stale, and smelly. Does skilled mean the opposite of musty, stale, or moldy? What was it? Moldy, stale, and smelly? Does fragrant mean the opposite of that? Or does humble mean the opposite of moldy, stale, and smelly? So if it's smelly, does it smell good?
No.
No. So which one of these is the opposite of it smelling bad? Okay, so let's type in musty beside that antonym. So now you've used 2 of those vocabulary words. Frantic and musty. That means there's 2 left to fill in the blank. So we either have skilled or we have humble left, right? Our next word is incompetent. Do you remember what the prefix in means? Not. So they're not competent. They're unskillful. They're not skilled. Do you see the antonym for incompetent?
Yeah.
What is it?
Skilled.
Right. So where are you going to type incompetent beside which antonym?
Skilled.
There we go. So then the one that we weren't quite certain about, you can fill in the last word, scornful, there. Right, when you have all 4 of those words done, just put your hands on your hips. Then I'll know that you're ready to move on. Everybody should be about done. Okay. All right, so sequencing. Remember, that's when we put the events in order, how they happen in these chapters that we're reading. Okay? So we're going to be looking for the first event of that occurs, the second. I think we did that in the last group of chapters that we read. Okay, opinion writing. What does opinion mean?
What you think.
Yeah, what you think about something, what you feel about something. Is there a right or wrong answer if they're wanting you to write your opinion? No. This says below, write a quote from the story that you think is important. So from this group of chapters, do you know what a quote is though? Has quotation marks around it. That's what makes it a quote. Doesn't mean that it's something that somebody says necessarily. It might be a group of sentences put together that you're quoting from the book. So maybe it was something that some of the different characters said that you feel is an important quote. And then you're going to tell why you think that quote that you put down, that information from the book, is important. Let's look at slide 2. Always the 3 comprehension questions. Okay, the first one says in chapter 80, titled, Another Ivan? Who is the other Ivan? What is he like, and how is the other Ivan different from the normal Ivan? So there's really 3 parts that we're going to be answering in that chapter. Who's the other Ivan? What's he like? And how is he different from the Ivan that we've been reading about? 2, what tragic event? Do you know what tragic means?
Horrible.
Yeah, like a horribly sad event. Okay, so what tragic event does Ivan remember in these chapters? How do you think this makes him feel, and how do you think this affects Ivan's attitude towards humans? So multiple things to answer in that one also. 3, what does Ivan start to do every night? Why is he doing this, and what do you think he is planning? And then the beyond. Do you see this graphic organizer down there?
Yeah.
Friends, let's put our masks back up. All right. Says, in the graphic organizer below, brainstorm everything Ivan cares about. Add more bubbles if you need to. I don't think we'll add more bubbles. I think if you just want to add more text off to the side, you can do that. But you have to fill in at least how many bubbles?
6.
6 bubbles. I think that you'll be able to easily think of 6 things that Ivan cares about. Okay? All right, so let's go into the book. Where did I set my book? Back over here.
Miss Lofi. On the first question, it says in chapter 80, titled Another Ivan, it's actually 79.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, let's look at a bad dream. We're on page 161. I lie awake, peeling dried red paint off my fingertips. Bob, who accidentally walked on one of my paintings, is licking his red paws. Every so often I glance over at the empty ring. The claw stick glints in the moonlight. Stop! No! Ruby's frantic cries startle me. Ruby, I call, you're having a bad dream. You're okay. You're safe. Where's Stella? She asks, gulping air. Before I can answer, she says, never mind. I remember now. Go back to sleep, Ruby, I say. You've had a hard day. I can't go back to sleep, she says. I'm afraid I'll have the same dream. There was a sharp stick, and it hurt. I look at Bob, and he looks back at me. Oh, Ruby says. Oh, Mac. She puts her trunk between the bars. Do you think, she hesitates, do you think Mac is mad because I hurt him today? I consider lying, but gorillas are terrible liars. Probably, I finally say. He ran away after that, Ruby says. Bob gives a scornful laugh. Crawled away is more like it. We are quiet for a while. Branches claw at the roof. A light rain drums. One of the parrots murmurs something in her sleep. Ruby breaks the silence. Ivan, I smell something funny. He can't help it, Bob says. I believe she's referring to the finger paints Julia gave me, I say. What are finger paints? Ruby asks. You make pictures with them, I explain. Could you make a picture of me? Maybe someday. I remember Julia's picture, the one that will be worth $1 million. I hold it up to the glass. Look, it's you. Julia made it. It's hard to see, Ruby says. There's not much moonlight. Why do I have 2 trunks? I examine the picture. Those are feet. Why do I have 2 feet? That's called artistic license, Bob says. Ruby sighs. Could you tell me another story? She asks. I don't think I can ever go back to sleep. I told you all I remember, I say with a helpless shrug. Then tell me a new story, she says. Make something up. I try to think, but my thoughts keep returning to Mac and his claw stick. Anything yet? Ruby asks. I'm working on it. Ivan, Ruby presses. Bob said you are going to save me. I search for true words. I'm working on that too. Ivan, Ruby says in a voice so low I can barely hear her. I have another question. I can tell from the sound of her voice that this will be a question I don't want to answer. Ruby taps her trunk against the rusty iron bars of her door. Do you think, she asks. That I'll die in this domain someday, like Aunt Stella. Once again, I consider lying, but when I look at Ruby, the half-formed words die in my throat. Not if I can help it, I say instead. I feel something tighten in my chest, something dark and hot. And it's not a domain, I add. I pause, and then I say it. It's a cage. Who used to say that?
Stella.
All right, let's look at some of our sequencing. Is there anything that we can put a number beside yet? On the television, Ivan sees an ad about a zoo? No. Ruby asks Ivan if he thinks she will die in her domain like Stella did?
Yes.
Okay, let's keep looking on. Ivan remembers the humans killing his father and mother?
No.
Mac finds one of Ivan's finger paintings.
No.
Ivan tells Ruby a story about a baby elephant that gets to go to a zoo.
No.
No, so there's only one so far. Do you remember which one it was?
Yes.
Put the one there. For this book, that was a long chapter.
Yeah.
All right, so now we are on the chapter, The Story. I look at the ring layered with fresh sawdust. I look at the skylight, at the half-hidden moon. I just thought of a story, I say. Is it a made-up story or a true one? Ruby asks. True, I say. I hope. Ruby leans against the bars. Her eyes hold the pale moon in them, the way a still pond holds stars. Once upon a time, I say, there was a baby elephant. She was smart and brave, and she needed to go to a place called a zoo. What's a zoo? Ruby asks. A zoo, Ruby, is a place where humans make amends. A good zoo is a place where humans care for animals and keep them safe. Did the baby elephant get to the zoo? Ruby asks softly. I don't answer right away. Yes, I say at last. How did she get there? Ruby asks. She had a friend, I say, a friend who made a promise. Okay, go ahead and decide which one you can put a 2 beside on the sequencing.
Is Charlene here?
She just walked out.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Did you get 2 completed? Everybody got it? Okay. All right, so the next chapter is how. Are we all on that chapter? Okay. It takes a long time, but finally Ruby returns to sleep. Ivan, Bob whispers, yawning. What you said about the zoo? How are you going to do it? Suddenly I feel as if I could sleep for 1,000 days. I don't know, I admit. You'll think of something, Bob says confidently, his voice trailing off as his eyes close. What if I don't? I ask, but Bob is already asleep. His little red feet dance, and I know he's running in his dreams. Have you ever seen a dog do that? Where their feet start moving like they're running while they're sleeping?
Only in movies.
In movies. All right, next chapter is 76, Remembering. Bob and Ruby sleep on. I don't sleep. I think about the promise I made to Stella and the pictures I've made for Ruby, and I remember it all. The next chapter is what they did. We were clinging to our mother, my sister and I, when the humans killed her. They shot my father next. Then they chopped off their hands, their feet, and their heads. Something else to buy. There is a cluttered, musty store near my cage. They sell an ashtray there. It is made from the hand of a gorilla. Let's look at our sequencing. Is there more that we can number?
Yeah.
Can you identify the third thing of those 5? When you have the third thing identified, go to the next slide. Okay, look at 2. Did we just learn of the tragic event that Ivan remembered?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, type in what the tragic event was that he remembered. Did you get typed in there the event that he recalled?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can come back to adding more to that. The next chapter is another Ivan. And what I'm going to have you do is you're going to read another Ivan with a partner. And then you and your partner are going to talk about question 1 together. You can work on question 1 with your partner after you read the chapter with that partner. Does that make sense? Okay. And then when you're finished with that, you'll just go back to your seat and wait. All right, so let's do, we'll do rubber band partners. Alrighty. If you have on purple. I don't know, I can't,
It's like a purple blue.
kind of an in between the two.
I would say it's purple. It's like light purple.
maybe like a violet, a bright violet, I don't know. If you have on black. Okay, who are the purple partners? Who are the green? Was green one of them?
Yeah.
Okay, green partners. And then is the last one the pink? All right, so go ahead and get with your partner